your money were to have lips and be able to say what it thinks, or how you act or how you react or how you spend, where your life is financially, man, that might be revealing. You may not like people to know what your money thinks about you. So here's the deal. In southeastern Kentucky, as a matter of fact, this statistic plays out all the way across the country. So this is actually kind of a neat little statistic for you. But when it comes to your financial dollars, well, let me paint a different picture. We see the drug epidemic as a visual obvious. Statistics show that we have a drug issue here in Knox County. We have a drug issue in southeastern Kentucky. But we've got a drug issue in a lot of other places too. It's pretty bad, and it's pretty easy to see. We can see it when we go into the courthouse. We can see all that kind of stuff. Well, here's the other deal. I would say the first, even before the drug epidemic, can be the pills and the other drugs of choice. Before that, there's actually a world of chaos that is causing more damage to the family than even drugs are. And it's finances. It's the dollars. It's the way that we make money. It's the way that we handle money. It's the way that we spend money. It's what the government is doing with our money. Everywhere we look around us, it seems like there's a whole lot of financial chaos. We look at the economy and we're frustrated. We look at our government, we're frustrated. We look at the medical world and we're frustrated. A lot of you get to the end of the week and you're frustrated. You get to the end of the month and you got more month than you got money. So if your money could talk, let me take a step back. You can look at the chaos around you with all of the financial flaw that there is and say, gosh, man, what in the world is going on? And you really can't do much about it, but you can do something about your own home. You can do something about your own bank account. You can do something about the dollars that come into your pocket and into your life. It can change, and you can actually have a grip on it and not let it have a grip on you. So listen, I know that the leading cause for divorce is financial flaw in the home. That is the number one leading cause of why relationships turn into turmoil and fight and chaos, is because of financial difficulty, financial flaw, financial argumentation. There are more fights going on in relationships about money than any other topic across the globe. Money. Money, money, money. So, a lot of people would say, I don't know, money's a little bit like politics. You really shouldn't cross, money and God, like you should leave politics out of the whole God thing and church thing and that kind of deal. But what's pretty phenomenal is when you begin to look in the scripture and you actually see that there might be 500 different times where God talks about prayer. There may be 500 different times throughout the scripture that he talks about faith. But there's well over 2,000 times that God addresses finances and stuff. I mean, he integrates it all the way through the scripture from Genesis all the way to the end of the Bible. Now, some of y'all thinking, here we are in church. This dog's about to talk about money because he wants my money because we're collecting an offering at the end. You know what's kind of crazy is I'm not even going to deal with giving today. Probably not even going to mention it other than what I just did right then and there. Why? Because what's interesting about the scripture is that in that 2,000 times that God deals with finances, there's like about a 5 to 8% of it that deals with giving. The rest of it deals with managing what you have. So I think that there is a pretty big importance on the simple fact that what God gives, he has a very, very, very special intention as into how he wants you to handle it, and it has everything to do with the heart. But here's the deal. Most of us don't know. Most of us don't get it. Finances is kind of one of those ones that's kept in the checkbook. What goes on in the checkbook stays in the checkbook, and it never comes out to surface. Nobody can see on your grins, on your smiles, on your frowns, or in your tears where you're at financially. That is a compartment of your life that you can just stick in a hole and keep away from everybody, and nobody can pry on. Nobody can deal with it. I don't know where your checkbook's at. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how you spend your money. I don't know if you hoard and you save and you're like freakishly like, this is my money, you can't have it. Like you don't spend anything. I don't know if you spend $500 a month at Starbucks. I mean, I don't know what your lifestyle is when it comes to your finances. That's not what I'm not here to pry on any individual whatsoever. I'm just simply here to say money is a big deal to God, and it should be a big deal to us in church. if you're sitting here today and you're not a Christian, you're not so sure about this God thing, you're not so sure about this Jesus thing, and you're just not feeling that, I want you to know you're going to be able to walk away from here today, make phenomenal amounts of application to your finances, and this is going to be step one of the next 3 to 5 weeks. We're going to see God just step into the world of our finances and prepare us to begin to manage it and not let it no longer manage us. Could you imagine if we were to get this one thing right? If we were to get this one thing right. Just money, that one thing. Could you imagine if we got this one thing right? How different our economy would be. How different our lives and our homes would be. I mean, this is a make it or break it moment right here. If you get your finances right and end the argumentation that happens within the walls of your home, within the papers and the pages of your checkbook, could you imagine the explosive amount of life that you would have beyond the frustrations of not knowing what to do when the bills come in, or when that checkbook statement shows that you're overbalanced, or when that bill comes in and you ain't got the money to pay it again, you got more month than you got money. Listen, discipleship, this is part of it. It's a discipline. Finances is a discipline. If your money were to speak of you right now, what kind of things would it say? Would it say, I'm the number one topic in this house? And these guys argue about me left and right. I've got them right where I want that. We spend a lot of time together. Get it? Okay. Terrible joke. Your money might say, man, you make a whole lot of poor financial decisions. I mean, they may even say, they have no idea how much of me they have and how much of me they spend on some of the stupidest stuff all month long. I mean, they're wasting me left and right. They feel like there's plenty of me to go around, and in reality, they're in debt up to their ears, because even though they think they got a bunch of me, it's all borrowed. They've never even seen me. They spend me before they get me. What does your money say about you? If your money could speak, what would it say? Man, he is a frivolous, excessive spender. Never holds on to me. Man, he won't let nobody touch me. Every dollar he makes, he sticks me on the shelf, and nobody ever touches me. I'm a hoarder. I'm a saver. I don't like to spend anything. Super tightwad. Maybe that's what your money would say about you. That's so much fewer than excessive spender. What do you think? Failing to plan. He never plans about how he's going to use me. I mean, I've never been conversated with or thought about or anything. I'm just like a rapid go-go. I come and I go when I want and how I please, and I know how to play with emotions so that I can get put out on the table quicker than he can get it. What does your money say about you? It's kind of interesting to stop and think about it. It's kind of a weird, I mean, it's not biblical. I didn't pull out of the Bible the verse that says, hey, what's your money say about you? But I just thought it was a great concept to stop and think. If you were to step into the shoes of a dollar bill in your pocket and it knows all about your money, what would it reveal about you? Wow. Kind of a hot thing. So listen, we're going to have fun this month. I'm not going to make money like a dry topic of like, oh my gosh, he's talking about money. They just want my money at this church. They just want me to like give and give and give. Shoot, yeah, we do. But that ain't what this is all about. What this is all about is what God thinks of our money and how money can radically transform and change your life. That when you get a grip on how you handle and how you manage your money, life can be different. Life can totally be different. Jesus doesn't want your money. Jesus doesn't want your stuff. Jesus wants your heart. He wants your heart. But you got to ask yourself the question, does money think it has your heart, or does God? So with that being said, I'm going to play off of this illustration. The title for today is The Law of Balance. That's the title. The title of my sermon is The Laws of Balance. And I'm going to share with you the 3 laws of balance, and you're going to be able to make great life application out of these 3 laws of balance. So, the first one is you've got to have a reference point. All right, there's 3 points. They're all right up there on the board or on the wall or whatever you want to call it. But here's the deal. I'm looking at my money. Right there's the dollar sign. And when you begin to balance and you see it, you have a reference point and you see it, you know right where it's at and you can keep it balanced. I want to show you something. Watch when I look at my hand. And this is no joke. To try to take your eyes off of where your money is and not knowing your reference point, it's out of balance. You can't hang on to it. So now let me just hear the deal. I'm going to look where my money's coming from, and I can't keep it balanced. You can try, but it's really, really, really hard to. This thing breaks. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. All right, so if you look at the reference, if you look at where it's coming from, like where your money source is, that doesn't help. You got to look at the money itself and see where you're taking it, see where it's going. And it's really not that easy to balance, okay? So, reference point. How about if I'm looking everywhere and seeing all the stuff I could have? So you take your eyes off the reference point, and you're looking everywhere. You can't stay in balance. Man, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and you're just all over the place. You're out of balance. You can't hold on to it if your life depended on it. Reference point. You have to know where your money's at. You've got to see it in order to keep it in balance and to keep it in check. Everybody got that? Everybody say reference point. Pretty awesome illustration, isn't it? The second point, the second law of balance is constant correction. So you have the dollar sign, and you see I'm constantly correcting my spending, the way I manage it, the way I see it, the way I handle it, where I'm putting it. Constant correction. I love this statement. Andy Stanley says this. He says, what got me to here won't get me to there. So financially, what got your child through them being a baby to school won't get them through school. And when they get through school, it's not going to get them through college. So what got me here will not get me there. And you have to not only have your eyes on the reference point, but you have to make constant correction. You have to constantly be correcting the way that you communicate it between you and your wife, communicate it with your children, communicate, the way that you balance, the way that you see it, the way that you handle it, where you're investing it, how you're spending it, the budgeting. You have to constantly make correction in order to live life and to keep it all in balance. Everybody got that? So everybody say reference point. Everybody say constant correction. Clear objective. Say clear objective. You got to have a clear objective. What is your objective? My objective is to know exactly where my money is. I've got to know where it's at, because if I don't know where it's at, then it's controlling me and I'm unbalanced. If I know where it's at and I can keep it in balance, well, that's exactly what my objective is to not let it control me, but let me control it. The law of balance will save a marriage. The law of balance will save you financially. The law of balance will allow you to have control and not let it have control of you. Kind of phenomenal picture if you really stop and think about it. There are so many people I know, and I don't know for sure, but I just know percentagely, like the percentages of children that actually get trained and taught how to manage their finances at a really, really young age are next to none, are really next to none. And the statistics show that by the kids that go into college, how the rapid spending, the amount of debt that's being accumulated between 18 and 22 years old is unbelievable. It's unmeasurable. Talk about governmental debt. You ought to see college student debt. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we're not training up the next generation to step into keeping their eyes on the reference point, making or having a clear objective. If any one of these laws of balance are not kept, what happens? It falls. There's devastation. There's unbalance. It will hit the ground. You will hit the ground. Something will break. Something will give. So if I violate any of those three, then it falls. But, watch this. If I violate any of those three laws of balance when it comes financially, what happens? Nothing. You need to hear me when I say this. Like, this teaching it ought to be out there, but it's not. I don't know why it's not out there, because I wish I'd have known this when I was going through high school and stepping into college and even getting married for the first and only time. I almost said for the first time. That'd be weird. But anyway, I've only been married once, I promise. But the balanced law of finances, it doesn't work the same way. You see, when you're balancing your finances and you break one of those laws, it's not instantaneous that it falls. You don't see it immediately. It's not the Pinocchio law, the law of Pinocchio, right? The law of Pinocchio, it's pretty easy. I love using, animation literally to share stuff. But the law of Pinocchio says this: if you lie, his nose grows longer. Could you imagine if your nose actually grew longer every time you lied? I mean, it's like, I think that dress looks great. Just kidding. I think, love your hairdo. So like you don't like something, but you're saying you do, or, you're just trying to make friends and your nose. Could you imagine, gentlemen, if your eyes got bigger every time you looked at something you shouldn't be looking at, or saw something that you probably shouldn't have seen, or stared just a little longer than what you? Could you imagine if your eyes got bigger? Just like bloop. Like you'd be walking around like this. It's like, I am not looking because she will know, because it's instantaneous. Could you imagine if you were to just speak when you shouldn't say what you said, whether it's cussing or something else, and your lips got bigger, blah, blah, blah. You'd be talking like a big old fat lip dude, you know what I'm saying? So could you imagine if you're listening to music or different things that you shouldn't be listening to, and your ears just went pop? They just you would look like, I don't know, like Alf. Anybody remember Alf? I mean, you'd be straight up a bonker-nosed, funky-looking ear, hairy guy. Like, it would just be weird. So all that being said, it's not the law of Pinocchio. It's more like the law of harvest. It's like the law of harvest. Let me explain this. You till the ground, you break up the ground, you plow it, and then you plant the seed. You go have a sandwich for lunch, and you come back, and do you chuck the corn right away? No, it doesn't work that way. Financial balance does not work instantaneously. It's not immediate. It's the law of harvest. You see, it's how you tend to it, and over a period of time, you have your harvest. See, finances work over time. They were never intended to work instantaneously. That's why it's so deceiving that when we instantaneously spend money, or we buy that toy, or we go in debt on that four-wheeler or that motorcycle or that car, or on a house that's bigger than the money that we have coming in, you enjoy it, and it's exciting until you hit 5th month, 6th month, a year down the road, 3 years down the road, and then things change. You lose a job, circumstances happen, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I can't handle the bills. I can't take this on. I can't do this. What in the world is going on? Harvest, the law of harvest. 2 planters plant a field. Actually, two farmers go to plant a field. One of them actually plants the seed, and the other one doesn't. They go and have a sandwich and go to Gatlinburg for a weekend, and they come back, and they're looking at it 4 or 5 days later, and they see the same thing. Do you get that? They see the same thing. That's why the lack of financial integrity or financial unbalance is not immediate. So it enables us and makes us want to do it more because we don't see the cause and effect instantaneously. It's not for a couple years down the road. And sometimes, while you're not seeing the instantaneous effects, you do it more because you want more, and you want the now, and you want the opportunity, and you want to fuel that, and then you're so overwhelmed and overloaded that you're not harvesting good crop and eating more. You're actually harvesting debt and frustration and irritation, and it causes all of this chaos and all of this frustration. Why? Because you never had, give me the money. You never had your eye on the reference point to begin with. You were always out here, and over a period of time, it falls. Not instantaneously. You didn't have a clear objective. You wanted the right now, I want it, and you were completely imbalanced the whole time, but the effects were long-term, and they may have cost you your marriage. They may have cost you your house or your belongings or relationships that you wish it would have never cost you. It may have cost you a business plan or circumstance or whatever. It even cost you your children. I don't know. It doesn't follow the law of fairness either. See, the world of fairness doesn't fall into the world of money. Like, not everybody makes the same. We have governments, we have power sources, even in the past, that try to dictate and control, like the Mao and Marx and some of these historic beings actually tried to force in the citizens of their nation to make the same kind of thing. But fairness, you just can't force fairness. No matter how hard you try, you cannot dictate fairness. It wasn't ever fair. It's not going to be fair. You're never going to see fairness in money, but you can see balance. You can become disciplined to balance your finances in such a way that it doesn't dictate you, but that you control it and have balance. The effects and the consequences are overwhelming. And I don't know why we, for so long, have just turned our cheeks to the consequences of flawed financial managing. We're just unbalanced. Our entire nation reflects our unbalance of money. Did you know there is more money used and abused in America than almost anywhere else in the entire world? We are, the American dream has turned into this live now, die later mentality. It's forget the harvest. I want it now. That's how we look at things. I have had some conversations with some people that, quite frankly, I'm young enough to where this still makes me sick because I've made some financial mistakes. I've been put in some financial situations. I remember stepping into the world of debt-free for the first time about 4 years ago. I can't even explain the time that my wife and I got along the greatest, the times that things were the best in my home were when we stepped into that window of debt-free and we didn't have bills outside of our month-to-month. I mean, I had less than $1,000 a month budget because I had no bills. I mean, it was oh, am I there now? No, life's a little bit different. Controlled, maintained, a little bit different, a little bit more stress. But as God has begun to steer me through the scriptures, he's training and implementing a little bit more of this law of the harvest. That it's not intended to be fair, it's intended for you to be disciplined enough to be balanced. So with that, we have to understand that there are definitely consequences. Sometimes the consequences in our financial mistakes, they show up financially. Bounce the check. Can't afford to. My child can't play in this because I can't pay the $80 for her to be in it, or she can't swim here, or I can't this, or shoot, my car broke down, I don't have the money to fix it. All of a sudden, these financial just show, and they show up financially. Other times, they show themselves in other ways and in other places, such as if you were a kid maybe one time hearing mom and dad argue about their finances. Hearing them argue if you would stop spending, if you wouldn't just blow money on this, if you wouldn't just blow money on that. Guys, they want to buy toys and get entertainment. Girls, they want to buy knickknacks and spend on beauty. So, the dresses and the clothes and the looks and the knickknacks and, it might be candles for you. It might be frogs. It might be other things. I don't know. Whatever your knickknack is that you like to invest in. But guys, they like toys. Whether it's our guitars or sticks, or whether it's four-wheelers or motorcycles or, basketball goals, I don't know, but we like toys, It may be different for you. Guys, you may be a knickknack guy, and I'm not going to call you that right now. You may be a guy that likes candles and whatever, dude. We need to talk. I'll set up some counseling for you. But anyway, you may be the mom or dad that's arguing. You may be the person who at home, you constantly are furious, frustrated, and fearful of your finances. Frustration and fear are two things that God constantly talks about in the scripture to not be controlled and empowered by. Did you know that? But yet when we look at our finances, we're always afraid we're not going to have enough. We're always frustrated in the way that it's handled. Why? Because we have no reference point. We're not watching it. We're not making the right kind of constant corrections. We're still selfish. And we really don't even have a clear objective of what we're doing and where we're going. So we're just random. I want to play. Let's go in debt real quick. I'm going to suffer the consequences it may end my marriage in 2 years, but right now it's time to play, guys. Ladies are like, man, I got money in my pocket. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's shop. Let's hit the mall. Let's do this. You may be a family member. You may be somebody in a business relationship with somebody where financially you have to make some decisions and you guys don't share the same values. You don't. You would like to actually be a business that's giving towards something, but the rest of the business isn't for that. They don't support the things that you support. They're not for the things that you're for. They just rub you wrong in a lot of different ways. It could be investments. It could be a lot of different things. So the consequences don't always show up just in finances. They can show up relationally as well. It's interesting to note. I want to make this statement. It's interesting to note. I haven't done a huge, I'm young. I haven't done a huge amount of pastoral counseling in the world of money. As a matter of fact, I have learned a lot more from pastoral counseling with money than I have got to teach it. I'm kind of excited that I'm beginning to turn that page. Like, God has taught me a lot about money in the last 4 or 5 years of my life, and I'm like radically moving towards the other side. So I'm just gradually progressing. So I'm one of these guys that's like living alongside you. I get it. I know it. To not have it, what do you do? You get to your point where you're neck deep and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I've been there. I've done that. I was in debt on everything I had in the business world just 8 years ago. And life can throw a lot of curveballs at you when you least expect it when it comes financially. You don't have a job. You don't have work, but all of the bills remain. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Again, when you have a clear objective and you manage it, it will not manage you. I say this in every area. Your marriage, if you manage it, it will not manage you. Your finances, if you manage it, it will not manage you. Parenting, if you manage your children, they will not manage you. It's very, very, very awesome to look at this and see that this could play out in every area of your life. Today, we're just applying it to finances. But I want to say something about pastoral counseling, that 90% of the time, we as pastors and other pastors I have talked to don't really counsel people where there's a money flow issue. In other words, like where they're not making enough money. And some of you are sitting here thinking, oh no, I'm not making enough money. It could just be that you're living above your means. You put yourself in a setting where the amount of money that you have coming in doesn't fit the lifestyle that you're wanting to live, therefore it doesn't work and you need more money. But that does not mean that your money flow problem is not okay. It just means that you need to downgrade and pack yourself. Listen, and this is no offense, so if anybody is listening to this later on, I want to be very, very clear that if you are Hispanic and you have no problem living with 20 people in your home and you can make a bedroom work out for I don't know how many in one room. I mean, these guys do some pretty amazing things in a very small amount of square footage. It's pretty unbelievable. I think that we can fold and mold and become that too if our financial situation doesn't allow us to live above our means. But we are in a lane of opportunity, and we always want more than what we can afford to have. That's how we're taught. That's how we're shaped. Our school systems sell it. Our stores put it in front of us. It's the land of opportunity. We constantly want to live above our means. We want the coolest iPhones. We want the best TV. We want the nicer cars. We want the better four-wheelers. I want a new car, not one that I have paid off. And it's just constantly pursuing this deeper and deeper and deeper standing into financial flaw. So here's the deal. It's not normally a money flow issue. It's normally a value problem, husband and wife. Husband values these things more than wife values these things. My wife and I, we were just having this conversation yesterday where I'm looking at her, and she's a little bit more of the, not entirely knick-knack, but she likes to buy like the dressers and fix them up, and she likes to, shop clothes, and my wife's always good about deals and stuff like that. I hate to shop. I'm more of a guy that likes entertainment. So I want to go, and I want to go to a game, or I want to go, and I want to go to the movies. So I want to like randomly pick up and take $35, take somebody with me, go to a movie, or go bowling or something. Like I'm a random entertaining guy, but sometimes that gets out of control where I want to do it all the time and go all the time, and the finances isn't there. I'm just taking the last little bit of what we got, and here we go. And to know that she values these things, I value these things. However, we both value the simple fact that what we have isn't ours. Like we both agree that everything we have because God gave it to us. Therefore, we make decisions based off of that same value principle, and allows us to manage it and not allow it to manage us. Managing problems. You've never sat down and made a budget. You've never watched where your money goes. You do not have a clear objective. You have no idea. It could be a debt problem. You've made way too many decisions that said, I want it now and I want to get it now, so you fall into debt. It could be a saving problem. You've never saved money. It could be an education problem. In other words, you don't get money. Like you don't understand. I can tell you I have $500, and to you it's like $5. You have no idea what that means. It could be, I've got $20, and this is all I got to live on for the next 3 weeks, and, you're ready to go eat at Red Lobster. Like you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like just you don't understand the money world, and there are people like that, and I'm not making fun of you. Like there are some people that just flat out don't get money, but they have to learn. Your clear objective is to learn about money. Maybe it's a marriage problem. Maybe it's a marriage problem when finances comes into the picture, it's all out of whack. Maybe it's a marriage problem. Maybe you came from a lifestyle where mom and dad abused credit, they abused the way they spent, they abused the way that they did things, and now you've just carried it on and you're kind of doing the same thing. the generation before me did not manage money good, and that's where I learned all my bad flaws from. So I grew up as a rapid go-go spender who didn't really watch what was going on. It was just living in the moment. Maybe you're an excessive spender where you just like to go and shop and spend a lot. Maybe you're selfish where it's kind of all about you with your money. Never saved. Parents, listen to me. If we are out of balance, if we are unbalanced, you've got to know that we are creating a generation behind us that is going to come up unbalanced. And if you take a little bit of unbalance, it's going to gradually grow into more unbalance because there's a selfishness that comes with unbalance that just continues to explode and explode. It's kind of like one sin will creep up on you. That one sin will turn into a spiral world of hurt. Our government shows the picture. Our economy paints the picture. And most of our homes in southeastern Kentucky paint the impoverished picture. If there were two hot issues I think that we have in southeastern Kentucky, it's this drug epidemic and it's a financial unbalanced flaw. Those are our two pictures of our instability and the way that we're living life. And we cannot allow that to continue on. This is not just a money issue. This is a spiritual issue. This is a spiritual stronghold that is in our entire community. I want you to hear this and hear this well. Getting connected, changing lives, building community. Do you know what I said when we first launched Connection Point Church? I said this, and I still stand to this. If we get 2 years down the road and we have done nothing to change our local economy, we need to shut our doors because I'm not recreating something else that hurts it. You can either be a part of fixing the problem or you can continue to be a part of the problem. And you can do the same thing in your home with your own finances. You can continue to be a part of the problem or you can continue forward with a clear objective and be a solution to the problem. And if Connection Point Church is not going to be a solution to the local problem of anything that we're dealing with, which are our hot topics that people just don't seem to want to put a finger on, then we need to shut our daggum door and go on with our bad selves. There's no point in being here. Financially, you can change the scope of the entire next generation about taking this seriously and watching your money, having a clear objective and moving forward. If kids grow up never hearing parents discuss value systems, like if they never hear mom and dad say, you know what, how we manage our money is based on what God thinks of us with what we have to. I mean, it's the same thing with our children if you stop and think about it. My child is a gift from God. I am a child keeper for God. My child is mine, but not more than my Heavenly Father's. So he has given me a child to be a good steward of this child, and I'm going to train him up in the way that he should go. Then everything financially and all of my stuff and all of the world around, everything is God's, and we are to be stewards of it. And if we're not being stewards of it, we don't have a clear objective, and we're not managing it and honoring God with the way that we're managing it, then we have a relationship issue with God. That's why financial balance is so important. Because if we're financially unbalanced in our lifestyles, I guarantee you we are spiritually unbalanced with God. And most people don't put two and two together. It's kind of like politics and God. No, let's keep them separate. It's kind of like money and God. Let's keep them separate. No. That's not how God intended it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have talked about it so much in the scripture. And I want you to know, I'm going to get to the scripture. This is a intro to the next few weeks. So just bear with me. I'm almost there. I want to tap into my college and my singles because y'all need to hear me. If there's somebody here today that is single, if you're young, if you're moving on and moving forward, some of you are already dealing with the pains of being unbalanced. Like, I ain't never got no dollars. I need some Benjamins, baby. I got to be able to get through school. I got the school debt. I've got credit card debt. My car broke down right now. I could not fix it. I'd be walking to school even though I live on campus. If you're single and you're not married and you're just kind of doing life on your own, you may be in this seat too. You've had a lot of fun. You've been trying to get you education, and all of this debt it's got you with your chin up in the air, and you're like, I just hope I can get a job when I get out of here, that I can begin to pay some of this off. And here's the deal. You had some clear objectives on what you need to do with schooling. You had some clear objectives on how you wanted to play, but when it came to your money, you didn't have a clear objective or a really good plan to see how that was going to pan out once you wanted to start family life a year or two after you get out of college. Wow, what kind of weight am I going to bring to my wife or to my husband when I marry in and she's unbalanced with a huge hoarding amount of debt. I'm unbalanced with a huge hoarding amount of debt. Oh, and we're going to come together, and it's going to be cheaper if we just like combine all this stuff and weigh each other down with our own weights and our own struggles and our own trials and our own unbalancedness. And then we're going to work it out together. And then you're like in shock factor when all of a sudden you both have different values. You both have different means of making money. You both have a different system in how you do. As a matter of fact, neither one of you may have a system. And it's just like bam, bam, bam. And then all of a sudden there's a brokenness in that relationship. You're thinking, what the heck just happened? This unbalanced thing. See, you can't tell me that like this isn't this is serve God or money thing. You'd think it'd be Satan because you know Satan is so deceptive that he makes you think that you want instantaneously, so you dive into all of these things. You get yourself all corrupt. Can I help you with something? Man, if Satan can't steal your soul, he will jack you up financially because he knows that devastates relationships. And if he can hinder relationships with people, I guarantee he knows how to hinder your relationship with the Heavenly Father. And don't think he won't use dollar bills to do it. Man, I think that is his number one game plan. Statistics tell me that over 90% of people don't even know how to budget. Over 90% of people don't know how to budget. Over 90%. That's a lot of stinking people. I mean, that's a whole lot of people. That's a whole lot of corruptedness. That's a whole lot of damaging relationships. If we were to use that statistic and just say based on budgeting, we're gonna see our sound relational people with God. It's like less than 10% of our people that would, wow, it's just unwavering. Truth. The more money that people have, it's easier to be out of balance. Did you know that? The more money that people have and the more that they get, the more financial income, the more financial flow they have, the more likely it is that they become more unbalanced. Now, I told you I wasn't going to giving. This is the only example I want to give. It's same thing with tithing, which is a tenth, giving a tenth of all you have. If you have $10, I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye to give $1. When you have $100 to give $10 is a little bit more painful, but then when you have $1,000 to give $100, wait a minute. What if you made $10,000 in a month and you're one of those people that I hate? I'm just kidding. $10,000 a month and you were to give $1,000 of your money. See where it gets harder? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But wait a minute. It wasn't so bad when it was only $1.10. You know what I mean? But the more you have, the more easy it is to become unbalanced because you begin to see what you could have and what you could do and all the self-possibilities and capabilities that you have with that. So the truth is that the more money that you have, it's easier to be out of balance. Anytime that we have more of anything, we tend to be less disciplined with it. Kind of like when I have money and the money flows easy, I did this with construction. When the money flow was easy, we didn't budget. When things got tight and hard, I had to watch every single dollar. When we moved from Illinois to southeastern Kentucky and I was making no money, had bills at home, bills here, I had nothing to pay, didn't know what I was doing. I mean, we stopped doing lots of stuff. I mean, there was like no cable, there was no internet, we weren't driving places. I walked like just to school. It was only 100 yards away. But I was like, this is not going down. We didn't eat out anymore. We ate at home. There was lots of stuff. I mean, we completely had to compartmentalize the way that we handled our money because we didn't have it to spend. It was so easy to manage it when it was so less. You give me $100, I'll manage it all day long. You give me 50,000, we're going to have some good time. You see what I'm saying? Y'all get it. I mean, I guarantee everybody in here has had that. If I only had $1 million. If I had $1 million. Y'all heard that song? It's my favorite one because I sing it in my mind all the time. If I only had $1 million. I mean, I give to charity right after I went and got me something. So let me just say this. Big question. Why in the world are we talking about money in church? Why are we talking about money in church? It's because when we are financially flawed, we are spiritually flawed. I mean, he implicates it very, very, very clearly in Scripture. For a Christian, this is a bold statement. I want you to hear me. I honestly believe that you cannot be a solid follower and stay out of balance financially. I honestly believe that with all my heart. That you cannot be unbalanced financially and think that you are spiritually okay. I just don't. Some equate God and money with the God of the politics, like I said before, but Some of y'all say keeping separate God and money. Let me help you with something. I think that you've probably mixed the two and you don't even know it. I mean, let's try something. You're looking at bills and you're not sure where it's going to come from. God, I would be grateful if you would just provide this month. I mean, has anybody ever thanked or prayed to God for provision? Anybody in here? I mean, just, okay. Most of us have prayed and said, God, if you would just provide, or we sit down and eat a dinner. We're like, thank you, God. I just want to thank you for providing this meal. I want to thank you, God, for your provision. Hello? He is the provider of all. It's his. He made everything that we see in our existence, and to think that it's not his, we're crazy. And all of a sudden, we become the God of ourselves who's in control, not the God of this universe who created, who gives, and who takes away. The Bible totally talks about giving and managing all we have. There are two verses that I want to share with you scripturally. The first one is this. It's Matthew 6:21. Matthew 6:21. We have it right up here. It says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." See, most of us can get that. I mean, we're like, where your treasure is, that's where your heart's going to be. Some of y'all been in relationships where you know the person that you're with, that they obviously like treasure, you know where their heart is because you know what they treasure. Be like, hey, baby, you like my new car? Man, oh, don't touch it. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, it's like all easy. Hey, check out my new strings, man. I got this new guitar, and it's sitting there. You got friends over like, check out my new guitar. They're like, oh, can I play it? No, that's I spent a little bit too much money on that thing. You ain't, I'd rather you didn't touch it. Or, hey, I got this new, whatever it is. No, you can't touch it. No, I don't want you to touch it. That's my fine china. Look, I inherited this fine china. And it's just like, oh, it's so great. Oh, man, it's so good. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. It's like your heart goes what you treasure. Sometimes it's a dog. You better not be mean to my dog because I will straight up punt kick you. Or you better not kick my cat because you'll be a dead man. Here's the deal. God doesn't want your stuff. He doesn't want your money. He wants your heart. And where your treasure is, there your heart is. And he wants you to treasure him, not what he gives you. Not what he gives you. He wants you to treasure him. I don't want your stuff. I want your heart, God says. The second verse is this. Luke 16:13 goes like this. No one can serve. This is going to be a little bit more questionable. Some of you are going to be thinking, man, I'm going to have to sit on that one, soak on this a little bit. Listen to what this says. It says, no one can serve two masters. I get that. Either you will, hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. That's pretty bold. I mean, that's a bold statement. Look how he closes it out. You cannot serve both God and money. You cannot serve both God and money. To have a clear objective here, if you are serving God, then you can't go without managing and handling your money. If your clear objective is I want to rapid spend and I want what I want when I want it and how I want it, you're going to spend and not keep an eye on it. But as a Christian, you cannot serve both God and money. So if you're sitting here today and you are a Christian and you have no idea where your money goes, you couldn't tell me how much you spend on pop, how much you spend on cigarettes, how much you spend on different things in a month. You couldn't tell me that right now, then you do not have a clear objective and you are not serving God. You are serving your money because it is your master. You do as it comes, not doing as God comes and says. That is a powerful, powerful statement. It's a life-changing statement. Some of you are sitting there thinking, I don't even know if I buy into this right now. Like that's just hard. You cannot have two masters. Have you ever had to try working on a job where there's two bosses and they both have a different value system? They both have a different. I've done this before, working on a roof job of a school with union, and how they handled their guys and how I handled my guys that weren't union. It was entirely different, man. And me and that boss, we clashed. It was tough. It was one of the toughest jobs I ever had to work on. But here's the deal. The people working under us, they were answering to him. Mine were answering to me. And they were both in conflict when the other boss wanted to tell the other guys what to do or how to do it or correct them. It just didn't work out. So when you got two masters or you got two bosses, It's just kind of a conflict of interest. So when you're spontaneous and you're living an unbalanced life with your finances, I'm telling you what's going on is that God is not your master. The money is your master. And if God was your master, he would create and spread like wildfire the fruits of the Spirit. If money is your master, it will create and spread like wildfire the fruits of its labor. I want it now. I spend now. I'm out of control. I'm not watching my money. I don't know where it's going. I don't have a clear objective. It causes frustration in my marriage, causes frustration with my children, causes frustration with the bills and with the landlord and all of this stuff. If that is the fruit of your financial, I'm telling you that God is not your master. But when God is your master, even debt that you have can be controlled. You're not a slave to it when you have a clear objective and that when you keep your eyes on it. So I want you to hear me. There's some hope here. For those of you who are neck deep in your finances, you're unsure what the heck to do. You don't know if you got enough finances to fill in your month. You're not sure where it's going. You're not sure how it's going to all work out. I want to give you something. That can change if you set your clear objective to not serve two masters or be serving the wrong one. If you choose to honor God with all that you have, we're going to learn something as we go on the next few weeks, and I want to kind of throw this as a power punch. It's not your stuff. It's not. I don't know of one person, every funeral I have been to, the casket is almost the same size. You don't get to bring more stuff depending on what level of life you lived. You don't get to bring your money with you. You don't get to bring your cars with you. You don't get to bring any of that stuff with you. Most of the time in the casket, it's just a dead guy. That's it. It ain't about your stuff. It ain't about your money when your eyes close for the last time and it's over. But it's interesting to know what kind of argumentation goes on with those who are alive after the person's dead. And has the fact of who they served as their master penetrated and reflected on those who are sitting out there. I have been to funerals where the person laying in the casket has honored God with their money. And it's not an argument amongst the people that are there because they're there to honor, to respect, and to celebrate their life. But I have been to funerals where I know who their master was. And the nastiness that went on and the people that were there based on their life and what they were going to get and what they wanted out of it and who was going to be in control of it, it was a direct reflection of their value system. That is sad, and I'm probably stepping on somebody's toes right now, and I apologize for hurting or hindering. But I want you to hear me. To be financially unbalanced is to be relationally and spiritually unbalanced with the Heavenly Father. And God does not want that. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve two masters, only one. So, will you flip back to my 3-point screen real quick? I want to reiterate this, and then I want to give you guys a challenge. Laws of balance, reference point. When you have a reference point, it's easy to keep it in check, and you always know where it's at, and it's going to be right where you want it to be. Okay? Reference point. Constant correction. You've got to make constant corrections in order to keep it balanced. And sometimes that's not easy. Sometimes you have to correct a lot. You know what I mean? Sometimes you really got to pull in, and you've got to make big corrections. Clear objective. Who's your master? Who are you serving? Challenge of the week. You guys ready for this? I'm going to give you an assignment. This is going to be step 1 to living financially free. And if you stick with me for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I want you to know that the things that I'm going to give you, the things that I'm going to equip you with, the things I'm going to empower you with, if you have never done these things before, they will radically change your finances. Listen to me very carefully. Through the law of harvest. You're not going to see in a week you're financially free. That's not going to happen. Okay? It didn't take me 5 days to get out of debt. It took me like 2.5 years after I finally came up with my clear objective. So this is not don't expect instantaneous. And if you do, this is like lottery God here. You can't just pull the trigger and it's going to happen. If you stick with me and you begin to put some of these things in place, you're going to see a radical change in the way that you handle your finances and who your master is, okay? So listen to me. I want to give you one challenge for the next week. I want you to straight up spy on your finances. I mean, if you have cash in your pocket, if you have money in the bank, if you have savings, I don't care what it is, I want you to get a notepad, and I want to apologize to you because I really wanted to make you guys out a ledger and give you this. I want you to write down every single penny you spend on what it is and how much you spent on it and the time in which you spent it. That's it. Spy on your finances. If you are here and you are single and you're a college student, I want you to write down like today, if you leave here and you go to lunch and you spend some on lunch, bam. You buy a pack of cigarettes, bam. If you're a chewer and you do that, that's fine. If you, I don't know, whatever, buy at Walmart or every little, if it's cash, if it's change, if it's whatever, and if you're a husband and wife, use the same one. Let both of you know without a shadow of a doubt what you're spending on what. Honey, I spent $155,000 in cigarettes today because that's about how much they cost me. Honey, I bought a shirt. This is how much I paid for it. It was on sale, but I still paid too much money on it, but I'm going to wear it for Sunday next church because I kept track of it. So anyway, spy on your money for a week. We're going to turn into this spying into adding things as we go, but spy on your money for a week and communicate it. Can I help you with something? Watch this. Just watch. Husbands and wives mostly don't seem to want to communicate about what they spend and when they spend it and how they spend it. And then when they find out that one or the other spent the other money, they get frustrated and irritated and mad. But when you absolutely know and you're transparent, you're living a life of glass with your money, it really lessens the opportunity. I mean, if you guys begin to talk through, hey, you know what, I value this. Hey, you know what, I value this. You know what, we ain't got a lot of money. All right, you take $20 this month. I'll take $20. We're both going to spend, that $20. After that, you got to wait because we ain't got no more money. For those of you who are wanting to pull the trigger and buy a toy and something like that, I want to promise you, if you listen to me for the next couple of weeks, you'll shoot yourself in the foot before we get a couple weeks in, and I can give you a different plan for how you want to spend money. Okay, listen to me. I'm serious. The law of harvest, if you will apply the law of harvest and look at how you do things, it's amazing just by waiting another year or waiting another 2 years, what you can pay for with cash and not get into debt, not get yourself hurt, not get yourself in trouble. For those of you who are single, for those of you who are looking to get married, I'm screaming at you to listen to me financially and let me help you. Okay? In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a good time. But for now, I want you to spy on your finances. Let me give you an example of why. Watch this. How many of y'all have any kids in college or have been in college already? Just raise it. You? Okay. All right. We're good. All right. Here we go. Check this out. If you got a kid in college, I want you, parents, you're going to love this. Listen to me very carefully. If your child is in college and you're forking out some money, and they're doing stuff. But here's the deal. They're like, Dad, I need a couple $100. All right, son. Shebang. Dad, I need a couple $100. All right, shebang. Mama, I need a little bit of money. Shebang. Okay, you've given them money. They're wearing you out. And they come to you, and they're like, I need some cash. And you're looking like, you don't know where it's going. You don't know what they're spending it on. They just keep coming and telling you that they need money, and you keep, you're so much more hesitant. Moms and dads, imagine this. Let me paint this world of wonder. Your child is keeping a ledger of every dollar that you have ever given them. College students, listen to me. You're going to love this. You just write, I spent $5 on this. I spent $2 on this. I spent $100 on this. I spent gas. And you have it all written down, and you're out of money. You need some money. And you go and you sit down in front of Dad and turn that ledger around. Dad, I have accounted for every dollar I've spent, and I am in need of $50. Could you give me $50? Your dad's going to look at that and see where you've been spending your money and where it's been going. And with a smile on his face, he's going to shuck it to you. See what I'm saying? All of a sudden, this breakdown of I don't know, lack of trust, I don't know where it's going. When you have a reference point, you have a clear objective, and you know where it's going, it removes the stress in almost every financial circumstance. It really, really does. Spy on your finances. Make a record and begin every little detail of every dollar spent for the next week. Write it down. That's my challenge for you.